So let's go to the second question. The nature of the genetic code is important in determining the sequence of amino acids in polypeptide chain. The diagram shows the genetic codes for each amino acids and the stop codons found in human DNA. So in this circular part, you can see the amino acids in the outer circle, then the base sequences 1, 2, 3. So in the center one is the first base sequence, then the second base sequence, and finally the third base sequence. So in this question, they have asked, which is the genetic code for leucine? So in this circle, you can see leucine here as well as here, right? So it should either start with C or T. So in the options, you can see there are two options that starts with T. So let's say consider the T part. So when you see the T part, for using should be TTA or TTG. So in the option, you can see only TTA. So C is the option. So next question. The diagram shows the sequence of bases in a part of a DNA template and is stand for serine and arginine. So DNA template strand is already given, which is TCT-AGA. And you have to write the mRNA sequence. So T is like pairing with 2 hydrogen bonds with A and C with 3 hydrogen bonds with G. And you can write for this as what? So for T it should be A and for C it should be G. So likewise you can get the answer as what? The answer is A, G, A, U, C, and U. So this should be the answer for the mRNA sequence. Okay, so this is the mRNA sequence. Give the sequence of bases that would be found on the anticodon of tRNA molecule that would bind to the first codon in this mRNA. So you know basically in RNA there's no adenine, should be like uracil. So here also when we see the tRNA, A should be pairing with U instead of T. So for that you will get the answer as U, C, U, A, G, A. So this should be the answer for the tRNA base sequence. So let's see the next question. Explain why each amino acid is coded by 3 bases. So what is the reason for that? Normally we have 3 bases which codes for the amino acids, right? But they are asking why. What is the reason? It's a simple solution because using 1 or 2 bases would not be sufficient. It's using 1 or 2 bases would not make enough combinations to code for all amino acids. So mandatorily we need 3 bases. So that's the answer for that. Okay, so we have done until the C part. Let's move on to the D part of the question. The table shows the amino acid sequence of 3 peptides A, B, and C. So here you can see the A, B, and C. Okay, and the position of amino acids in the peptides are given for the 1 to 9. So you can see this is like TYR, like that you can see in the table below. So you are asked to compare and contrast. But for normally to compare and contrast, you have to write the similarities and the differences. For the compare and contrast question, you have to write the similarities and the differences, okay? So in this part, let's see the similarities. So here first you can write it as all peptides start with cis and TYR. And they end with what? they end with GLY, right? So let me show you through the table. So in this table, you can see cis, it's always starting with cis for both 3 peptides. Then TYR is also similar, but ILE in the third, so it's not similar. And you can even write the fourth one is also similar, fifth one is also similar, sixth one is also similar, seventh one is also similar. And then let's skip the eighth one, and ninth one is similar. So all peptides start with cis and they end with GLY. So that's the first part you can write for that, the similarities. Then you can write even all have GLN, ASN, CYS, and PRO in their respective positions. This is also another point for the similarity you can write. Then for the differences, what you can write is in polypeptide A, it has what? It has ILE instead of what? Instead of PHE at the position 3. So this is a difference. Then another difference is the peptide C has LYS instead of ARG at position 8. So as you can see in the table, you can see ILE instead of PHE in A and also LYS instead of ARG in C. And you have to note down the position 3 and 8. They are the difference one. So these are differences and the above one are what? The similarities. So that's all for the second part of the question.